recorded. Now, as we move on, so you are now the CEO of Arlity, and Arlity produces STEM-based learning materials. Now, when we think about your growth journey, what has it been like? Since you started the business to where you are now, what is it? What has your journey been like?
It has been a lot of learning, a lot. The thing is that when you start a business, you have an idea, you have a vision, and that is what keeps you going. But the starting is really rough. It's really hard to find the right people to work with you, to find those key people that are going to be part of your company, and that they are going to bring the skills that you don't have. As an entrepreneur, you cannot. To run a successful business that is growing, you are going to be out of your shell. It's not going to be only you. So the thing is that, finding the right people, helping them, convincing them to join you or to work for you as an entrepreneur that is creating everything from scratch is hard. And also you need to learn a lot of things that they are not your main trade, like as I was working in Arlity this a couple of years, I have to learn about coding, I have to learn about design, I have to learn about copywriting, and a ton of different skills that I didn't have them. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't have the skills to do everything that the company needs. So either you need to be good at hiring, or you need to learn by yourself all the different skills that your project is going to need.
Nice. And yeah, I totally agree with you on that, because recently there was a podcast I was watching, and there's this guy, Steve Bartlett. He's a very, very successful entrepreneur based in the UK here. I think he's almost worth £68 million and he's only 30 or 29 years old. So he started his own business early on in life. And one of the things he really keeps on saying is, when you think about business, you think about business as a football team. So let's say your football team is Manchester United. It's all about who are the players you have. So who is your CFO? Who is your director of marketing? Who are the people? Because it's the people that make the business. So it's a case, and he says that's one of the things he learned late in life as a business owner, that it's not about you, the entrepreneur, the founder. It's really about the people that you surround yourselves with. If you surround yourselves with the strong employees, they would really, really drive and grow the business really well. So it's really interesting that you have mentioned that as well. Now, moving on to finance. Finance is really my area of expertise, and really want to know what your journey has been on. Not recently, but last year, I hosted a roundtable discussion, and one of the things we looked at was gender. And we talked about the role of gender in accessing entrepreneurial finance. And there's this research I really like to touch on by Dana Kanze from the London Business School. And she highlighted that when female entrepreneurs pitch to venture capitalists, they tend to get asked questions that are defensive in nature. So the questions that are asked to women entrepreneurs are questions like, what is your, how are you going to defend your market share? Questions that put them at the defensive. Now, on the other hand, her research also highlights that the kinds of questions that are asked to male entrepreneurs are questions that give them the opportunity to promote themselves. Okay, so male entrepreneurs, according to her research, are asked promotion questions, and female entrepreneurs, according to her research, are asked defensive questions that put them at a defensive. Now, thinking about your business is STEM-based, is a tech-based business, so it will go in the line of a VC kind of funding. Do you want to tell us what has your experience been trying to raise finance? Have you experienced any of these things? that Dana Kanze has highlighted in her research? Do you think women are at a disadvantage when accessing entrepreneurial finance?
Yes, we are. The thing is that, and this is not only with my business, but also having a career as a business manager and working, as a chief administrator or a CFO. The thing is that women always need to defend that they are capable of doing it, while male, normally they need to defend that the idea is good. So when you abstract, when you remove the product, and in a venture, they just evaluate the product, and if the product is good and if it's the market, then you don't have the leverage that you need to prove that you are good enough for the job of being the CEO. So a lot of times they are not only judging your product and your idea, they are also judging your own ability. And they tend to be more harsh, and this is where it comes, like where you're coming from. When you are coming from, you're a male that has been in the same schools that they know you, or they know your family. There is like this track record that is not said, but is there. And you don't need to prove it yourself. You are assumed that you can do it. Now, when a woman needs to do it, because that's not the traditional role, because you need to prove that you are going to overcome obstacles like maternity and juggling your family you need to prove that yourself, you can do the job of bringing this product. Not only that the product is good, but also that you can bring the product to reality. And that is something that is, even though we don't want to talk about it, it's like race. You don't talk about it, but it's there. I remember in one of my interviews when I was younger, before I was married, I was applying for a job, and one of the questions that they asked me in the interview is, are you dating anyone? And I was like seriously dating anyone? I was like, how that applies to my job? And I was, well, if you're seriously dating, you are in your early 20s, if you get pregnant, then what is going to happen when you need to go maternity leave? And normally it's not so obvious in an interview, not that they are going to tell you, bring those gender issues, but there is always in the back of our mind. And if we don't talk about it and we don't say it, we are never going to acknowledge the elephant in the room. When we see a woman, we have in the back of our mind, like her gender role and the assumptions that we have about being a woman and where a woman needs to be and the relationship and how they are going to balance family. And also we tend to have a lot of assumptions that women, they are not good at leadership, they are better followers. So, all that is in the back of, and a lot of times it's not conscious, but we need to start those conversations so we can start breaking down those stereotypes about the capabilities of a woman in leadership or in STEM or any other field.
Great. Now, so in terms of this, I think what we would say the perception of women and the role of women, what do you think can be done? What are some of the recommendations you can make? So you have some experiences of your own. What do you think can be done to sort of maybe improve the situation of things for women, especially when it comes to accessing external finance?
Well, I think that is, and this is my opinion, and I bias because I'm a woman and this is what I wish I could access, no? So I'm gonna put that, let that there. But I think one thing that is important is that we increase the access to initial capital or seed capital. A lot of times, in my own process, I remember talking with a lot of people. I will network with people. I will ask them feedback about the product and everything. And they say, oh, we love your product. Come back when you are in your next rounding. And they say, and they expect for all the conversations I have, the first $500,000 needs to come from your own pocket or from family and friends. But a lot of times women, they have, because they don't have that initial capital themselves, or they don't have access, or if they are married, they need to convince their husband. So the thing is that having an initial, like maybe 100,000 or something, an initial easier access to fund the product and to prove like the product works, then they have less pressure into going into the next round and say, okay, now I want to grow a little bit more. I show myself, I show the product, you have a different footing than if you need to lift everything out of scratch. And by the time that you get to your, to our round A funding, you are in a different footing. You already don't need to, you are overcome like the first obstacle of, are you capable of leading a team? Are you capable of leading development and things like that?
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And I remember reading a book written by one of the members of Founders and Mentors. And one of his arguments really in the area of entrepreneurial finance was the lack of access to risk capital, like you've talked about. That risk money that we play, maybe we call it, trial and error money that you use to test the ideas, it's really not available. And if we could make that available so that people could try out more products and more innovations, maybe it would have more innovative products on ground. So thanks for talking about that. Now, as we draw to the close of this conversation, now you've been a business owner for a few years now. Do you want to tell us what has been your worst day so far in running your business?
My what?
Your worst day so far.
Oh, the worst?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I prefer to talk about the best, but the worst, the hardest thing is not to be able to hire the right person. To get all the rejection, especially a lot of times when you are starting, you cannot compete in wages with more established companies. You are in a tighter budget, and a lot of times you see a really good candidate that is interested, but then they are looking for their own. And that's how it's life, but they see that they don't see the security because it's something that is starting and you can offer them the security that they need, or you are competing with the wages. So maybe there is someone that you want to bring in, but they say no, because, like right now, I don't know what it's going to be 3 months down the road. I don't know. And I was looking for something more stable. So that for me has been, to not be able to bring in the people because I didn't have the resources has been the hardest part of it. And also the impatience. When you are starting, you will want to have things in the market tomorrow and to have all the ideas done by tomorrow, by the next day. But the thing is that things, they need to grow and it takes time and it takes effort. You need to go little by little, and it's hard work. It's hard work to live a business from scratch, but that's the worst part.
Nice. Now, finally, like you said, things take time. And that's one thing with business. I think sometimes a lot of people get the misconception that you start a business today, you get successful today. And like I said last week during our Fireside chat, when we look at Bezos, for example, and Amazon, it's taking him almost, Amazon should be 27 years this year or thereabout. It's taking him quite a few years to get it from what it was to where where it is today. So it does take a lot of time. Now, do you think that the way entrepreneurship is portrayed on social media, the way it's glamorized, do you think that is the reality? When you think about the way you run your business and the way, entrepreneurship is portrayed, do you think there's a gap in reality?
There is no gap. There is the Grand Canyon there.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay.
Yeah, it's the thing is that the Instagram life of CEOs, that's not the reality of being an entrepreneurship. An entrepreneurship is the person that arrived the first and left the last. An entrepreneurship is working 16, 17, 18 hours a day. Yeah. And it's the road that it is. You are the one that believes in the vision of the company, and you are the one that is promoting since the moment that you got up to the moment that you go down to bed. When you are not answering emails or looking for new markets or analyzing and forecasting, you are always working. It's not like, oh, I'm the CEO of my own company and I work 3 hours a day. And I have, I'm making $1 million a year a lot of times. And actually, the most successful entrepreneurs that I have seen, normally they don't take a big salary. They don't have the biggest salary. They work for the shares. And talking about the stereotypes on that, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, their salaries are not that high. But they have a really high compensation in shares. Yeah. And that's what makes them so rich. Not because they are drawing a really big salary, but because they are putting all their salary into stock.
Good. Thanks for that.
That takes time to grow. It's not something that you're going to become rich the next day.
Okay, great. Thanks for that one. So that's us done with the conversation. Now, if anyone has any questions, please pop it in the chat or you can unmute yourself to speak. But I'll start with Kimberly's question to you. And she says, Maria, how did you get the first key people on board? Was money involved? Was it friends, family only, or did others buy in without guarantee of income? So really, how did you get your first set of employees? How did you recruit them?
One of my first mistakes as an entrepreneur, normally you are always going to hire in your circle of trust. You're going to hire, you always start hiring from the people that you know, whether they are friends or family, because there is this part that they need to believe in you so that they can believe in the product. And yes, you tend to talk with your friends, you tend to talk with family and trying to bring them on board. But the most effective, in my experience, is when you can convince someone that believes in the product as much, removing yourself from believing in you, that they believe in the product and they believe in the mission of what you are doing. Those tend to work out better and to be able to work better than when the people are there because of you. So it's a matter of networking and finding, you need to assess who you are, what your strengths are, what the project needs, and what type of people you need to bring into the project. So, you need to make sure that you are bringing people that have something that you don't have.
Okay, great. And it does make a lot of sense. I know we have Adi on this call. I don't know if he's still on here, but he is in charge of, he runs a community on founders and mentors called Co-Founders Club. And that's what they do. They're trying to pair people. And I remember taking one of the courses that him and Simon did together. And that's one of the things, bringing people on board, especially if you're trying to take on a co-founder, it's like marriage, isn't it? You're trying to make sure that you guys complement each other. Where you're strong, you're trying to look for someone that is maybe complement you in another area. So thanks for that one. Now, any other questions? Does any other person have any questions for Maria before we jump into the networking side of things?
Entrepreneurship is hard, but it's worth it, especially because if you believe in something or you see the need for something out there, go for it. You know that in Spanish we have a saying that says you always have a no. So you need to be brave enough to just go for the yes, because even if you knock at 1,000 doors, one will open. So don't be afraid of rejection.
Yeah, thank you. And it's absolutely true. Do not be afraid of rejection. So finally, this event is being hosted by Founders and Mentors. So Founders and Mentors is a global online mentoring platform. And that is where, so for those that are trying to start out their businesses or they're trying to learn how to become more entrepreneurial, it mustn't be that you want to start a business, but you just want to really understand how that process works. You're very welcome to join us on that platform. I'm going to put in the link to join here on the chat. You're very welcome to join us. Maria is on there, Tim is on there, Kim is on there, Grace is on the platform. So that's a very, very good place to come in and build your network. It's free of charge. There's no charge to it. And then you can really start benefiting by growing your community. So that's it from me. I'll hand over the floor to Tim to give us some closing remarks and we'll finish up for the evening.
Thank you all for participating. This is part of a process that the William Factory Incubator has engaged in to try to get a firsthand look at the financing aspect for early stage entrepreneurs and their enterprises. As Winifred indicated, on March 30th, we're going to do a panel discussion with a venture capitalist, a banker, a grant provider, a federal regulator for investments to try to get a wholesome look at the overall picture of making financial capital more available to small firms that particularly have been historically underserved and historically underfinanced. If we can bring them into the commercial marketplace, that expands the economic welfare for all of us. And as I indicated in the chat, it's obvious from the session today that entrepreneurship certainly brings the world together, and we can therefore prosper in this new society of global connections. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much again for that wonderful closing remark. That's it from me. I'll be sending you all the recording of this event. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you on the 30th of March as well. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.